Hey, what's up, everybody? Special live stream tonight, completely unannounced. So if you just happen to bump into us on Facebook or YouTube, welcome. We are going to be watching, live streaming the latest GOP gubernatorial debate in Michigan. This one's hosted by the Brighter Michigan PAC based out of Macomb County. All the candidates are there. I have sent an invitation to our usual co-hosts to see if they can join us tonight. Can't promise they will be able to. Just kind of last minute. We weren't sure we were going to find the link, but we did. So we're going to go to it. If you want to watch this without our commentary, feel free to go to the Brighter Michigan PAC Facebook page, or I guess it's at the 100% Fed Up Facebook page. But on our stream, we're going to be covering with commentary. We're watching it live, so we won't be able to pause it. But let's get right to it, guys. Here we go. I'm gonna put this right on the screen, and let's get started.
All right, why don't you give me a countdown? There's 30 seconds left, and people start to clap, okay? And we'll start it that way. How about that? Is that all right, everybody? 20 seconds to the top of the hour. Let's do it, guys. Ready?
I really wish it wasn't in portrait mode like this, but you get what you get.
Good luck, everybody. Is this thing on? Ready? Good luck, everyone. Test, 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 test. I hope it's all done.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Oh, no, for the class.
If anybody knows who these people are on the moderators panel, let me know. I don't recognize any of them.
Let me know about 5, 4, 3. So for me. For me. I'll tell them to talk, okay? Let me know when 10's left.
Thanks, Patty.
10, okay?
Charlie Langton, ML Eric. Charlie Langton, that name rings a bell. Some kind of media guy. I don't know who ML Eric is.
Start clapping, please. Who have qualified to be on the ballot are together. The debate hosted by the Brighter Michigan PAC here at the beautiful Royalty House in Warren, Michigan. Now, all 5 candidates agreed to a 1-hour format. It's going to be divided into 4 parts. The candidates will give an opening statement. There'll be a series of questions and answers, and then an open forum where we will engage in discussion. Candidates can question each other, and it should be an interesting time. And then finally, a closing statement. Now,
Oh, that's Patty in the middle? Cool.
The only people who know the actual questions would be our panelists. I don't even know the questions. Let me introduce them to you. From the Detroit Free Press, ML Eller, and co-founder of 100 Fed Up, Patty McMurray.
He mispronounced it. 100% Fed Up.
100% Fed Up. All right. Let me just caution the audience, though, okay, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but we'll hold the applause to the end, only because we want to make sure that we can get more answers and clear answers and maximize time. And speaking of that, let's start breaking out. The speaking order for the opening statement was chosen at random, and the first speaker will be Garrett Soldano. Go ahead.
You ready?
Go.
All right. My name is Garrett Soldano. We have to go back over 2 years and 3 months on how this started. It goes all the way back right before April 9th, when our governor was telling us what we could and couldn't buy. Remember, you can't buy paintballs due to COVID. God forbid you touch that gas station pump handle, you'll die of COVID. Now we're dying at the gas pump for a different reason, aren't we? So like all of you, I was waiting for somebody in a position of authority, an elected official, somebody in a position of power to represent us and stand up to these unconstitutional lockdowns, and nobody was. And so I started that Facebook group, Michiganders Against Excessive Quarantine, which grew to hundreds of thousands of people in a little under 3 days. So a movement was born literally overnight. So my job as the leader of this movement was to direct this energy, this passion, this frustration into a force to be reckoned with, and that's what we were able to do. We immediately started to hammer down on our legislature. We got resolutions through. We got our Unlock Michigan petition done.
Patty, if there's a better stream with better audio, let me know. This is the only one I could find.
We need leadership now more than ever. We are done with the blood and paper politicians. We want real, and that's what I'm here to offer.
All right, thank you, Councilor. Next open statement, Ron Rebrand. Ralph?
Thank you for coming tonight. I just want to give you an update here. Over the last 60 years, we've spent $22 trillion on social programs. Folks, we've sent businessmen to Lansing, we've sent politicians, and we have more incarcerations, more broken families. We have more depression and suicides. And I asked you, what's the advantage of that? We need to make a change.
We've got about 500 people jamming the.
Every issue that we're going to talk about tonight is the land, folks.
We sent politicians, and we have more incarceration, more broken families. We have more depression and suicide. And I ask you, what's the advantage of that? We need to make a change in Michigan. We have a cultural problem. Every issue that we're going to talk about tonight is indeed, folks, a cultural problem. We will never fix the state unless you fix the city. You will never fix the city unless you fix the neighborhood. And you will never fix the neighborhood unless you fix the family. My 35 years of experience as a pastor has given me unique insight into repairing the family and healing the state. We'd like you to join with us to make Michigan a lighthouse to the nation.
Thank you, Ralph Rebrand. All right, next, Tudor Dixon, 1 minute opening.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I am excited to tell you a little bit about me. If you haven't heard who I am, I come from a steel background, but in 2017, I started fighting for conservative voices, went into the media, and now I'm fighting for you because we saw what happened when our state was shut down by a tyrant governor who refuses to work with our legislature and refuses to see the struggles that Michiganders go through every single day. But as you may have seen earlier today, I was with some of our legislators and we presented a bill on the steps of the Capitol today to prevent drag queens from going into our schools. We will take this war head on, but we will also fight for family in the state. We will bring our schools back to make sure there is no wrong path for students. We will build our workforce. We will make sure that we highlight skilled trades, and we will treat our businesses like we are happy to have them here. We will be a customer service, family first state here in Michigan.
Thank you, Tudor Dixon. Next, Kevin Rinke. Opening statement, please.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Rinke. My family's been in Michigan since the 1700s. And during that period of time, we've seen the greatest that Michigan has offered, and we've seen a decline. And in my lifetime, 61 years, we've seen the greatest decline in the last 3.5 years. Autocracy, government that doesn't work, that doesn't function the way our country
can't make it any louder.
Set it up to function. I'm an outsider. I'm a conservative. I'm a businessman.
So far, these have all been the same opening speeches from the other debates, pretty much.
Of the governor. We're going to fix education because education is a critical aspect of business. We're going to fix the tax climate. And I'm the one who has proposed eliminating the 4.25% personal income tax that gives you back 11.8 billion of your dollars because I know that you know how to spend it better than Lansing. It's my privilege and my pleasure to be here tonight. And I'm looking forward to being your next governor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin Rinke. And next, Ryan Kelly, please. All right. Go ahead. Caution, audience. Caution, audience.
Great to be here with you all this evening in Macomb County. You all know, just like I do, that Michigan's next governor needs to be a fighter. You want to know who's the fighter for the people? Look at the one that the left is trying to silence the hardest. I think that's very evident with the FBI raiding my house, intimidating me, my wife, my children, my supporters. Want to be very clear with everyone tonight. We will not be intimidated by the radical left. Tucker Carlson had me on his show. The day before Tucker Carlson had me on his show, he mentioned that I was the front runner and talking about how bad Gretchen Whitmer was. And there's polls that have come out recently that have validated what Tucker Carlson was talking about. I don't listen to polls. I follow my principles. If you want a fighter as Michigan's next governor, August 2nd, 33 days from now, vote for Ryan Kelly to take Whitmer out of office this November. Thank you guys for being here.
All right. Thank you, Ryan Kelly. All right.
The FBI raiding
That's the first
Ryan
part of the
Kelly
debate.
was a
Second
terrible
part,
crime.
Q&A, question and answer.
But
each panelist will get a
the
question.
fashion
directly.
police
Another candidate
should
will
have.
get a rebuttal. Candidates don't know the speaking order, the pairings, the questions, and the speaking order was all done randomly. Let's start right now. M.L. Elric, please ask Kevin Rinke a question. 1 minute response. Tudor Dixon gets a 30-second rebuttal. ML to Kevin.
Sure. First of all, welcome to all the candidates and good luck tonight. Kevin, Senate Republicans agreed with Democrats to require background checks, red flag laws, and other measures to keep guns out of the hands of potentially dangerous people. Did Republicans in Washington go too far? And what, if any, changes would you make to Michigan's gun laws?
I'm a constitutionalist and I believe in constitutional carry. I'm very concerned because I do not support red flag laws. I think that it allows an opening for government overreach and it eliminates due process. So I would not have approved that law in Michigan. I would have fought against that law. I think the government and Republicans in Washington have gone too far on that law. Certainly, we can all recognize the fact that it's people operating guns that kill people, not guns. And I think there's a distinction. We need to work and make sure that bad guys don't have guns. We need to keep our people safe.
This is a really confusing answer.
All these onerous laws that violate our Second Amendment.
I oppose red flag laws. I don't want bad guys to get
Support our
guns.
Second Amendment every single time, just like I support our First Amendment and the right to free speech.
All right. Tudor Dixon, rebuttal.
I will not allow anyone to tear apart our Second Amendment. That is one of our rights. We will protect it, and we do not want red flag laws in the state of Michigan. Doesn't matter what's happening over there in the federal government. We will protect our right to constitutional carry in this state.
Why do they call it a rebuttal when they both give the
Ask
same
Garrett Soldano
position?
a question. Ralph Rebrandt gets a rebuttal. Patty?
This is a weird format.
Garrett, inflation is at a 40-year high, and top economists are warning of a likely recession. Michigan seniors preparing for retirement may be forced to work longer as they watch their 401ks shrink. Parents are worried about how they'll feed their families or afford gas. A recent poll conducted by the Detroit Regional Chamber shows the number one concern of voters in Michigan is inflation, with only 11% saying abortion is a top issue. Yet since the Supreme Court ruling on abortion last week, 20 of 20 tweets by Governor Gretchen Whitmer have been about her fight for abortion. If you're elected as our next governor, what will your top three priorities be?
My top three priorities are going to be inflation in the economy, our schools, and to make sure that we're investing in long-term energy-dense solutions. Just to go off to what they're doing, we all know what they're trying to do. There's a dumpster fire going on right now in our state and our country, and they're trying to direct all of our energy to one issue, and that's Roe versus Wade. Not with everything that's going on right now. Not on the average of $300 to $600 a month. We're all paying more. And we all, most of us in this room, come from humble beginnings. That's a lot of money, folks. And so if we don't start bringing some foresight and some common sense solutions to governing, we're going to be in hot water. We're already into a recession. We are knocking on the door of a depression. And so what we need to do is, number one, is make sure that no governor can ever weaponize the health department again. We need to get big government's boot off our throat, and we need to lower regulations. We need to start doing a forensic accounting on our budget. I'm not the candidate who's saying up here that we're going to balance the budget. We need to do forensic accounting line by line, and we need to cut that budget every single year to put more money back in your pockets. And the last thing is to invest in long-term energy-dense solutions.
Thank you, Garrett. Ralph Rebrandt, rebuttal.
My three things that I would be emphasizing is bringing God, number one, bringing God back into culture, bringing back our Judeo-Christian principles. My second thing would be bringing back our Judeo-Christian principles. And my third thing would be bringing back our Judeo-Christian principles. I share that because I challenge everybody on the trail to show me one issue that we face that's not a moral or spiritual issue. That's why we are where we are today.
All right. Thank you, Ralph. All right. Patty, another question. Tudor Dixon, a 1 minute answer, and Ryan Kelly, a 30-second.
Saldana got the better of that last question.
Many parents are outraged about the materials that are being taught in Michigan schools, from the teaching of sexual orientation or transgenderism to students starting in early grade school, to diversity, equity, and inclusion, another name for CRT, that's being taught to students in elementary school. Public schools and some government officials don't believe that parents should have a role in the curriculum selection process. To what extent do you think parents should have a say in their child's education?
Well, I've already called for parents to have a say in their child's education with the Parents' Right to Know Act. So we've called for the Parents' Right to Know Act, which would be in any school, a parent can go to their child's school's website and within 3 clicks get to that child's classroom and see what books are in the classroom, see what books are in the library, and see whether or not they are teaching any type of DEI, CRT, and what the class syllabus says. Every parent has a right to know exactly what is happening in their child's classroom. And that's why you saw me today on the steps of the Capitol also fighting for parents to make sure that we don't have radical attorney generals like Dana Nessel who come out and say we should have a drag queen in every classroom, not be taken seriously, because folks, that is a trial balloon. We are going to take every word they say seriously and make sure that we protect our kids and we stand with parents and parents' rights in education. We will make sure that parents get to know everything that's happening in their child's classroom.
All right. Thank you, Tudor Dixon. Ryan Kelly, rebuttal.
Day number 1 with Governor Kelly, I signed an executive directive terminating all of the DEI positions across all of our school government. Violates the Michigan Constitution, Article 1, Section 26. Included in that is critical race theory, social emotional learning. Also, what the Supreme Court just did with the ruling out of Maine allows the money to follow the student. I want the legislature to get me a bill to allow us to invest in our students and not the school districts. That way, the parents can put the money where their children will get the very best education. Provide a quality education or go out of business.
All right. Thank you, Ryan Kelly. ML, ask Ryan Kelly a direct question, and Garrett Soldano gets the rebuttal. ML.
Ryan, if you or another Republican is declared the winner of the governor's race,
Yeah, that's a fine answer. They all
the
were.
election is stolen, then calls on Michiganders to go to
Well,
the
they both
state
were.
capitol to block the peaceful transition of power, what would you do?
That was a dig.
Wow. All right. My, how the table turned, right? We will grab popcorn and we'll watch the entertainment, right? Russia for 4 years, trying to track down everything that was involved with Donald Trump's victory when we know that was the American people. 2,000 mules, the 2020 election, and we see that they want to silence anybody that asks the questions about wanting to know the truth there. If on the off chance that they want to open their mouth again and put their shoe back into their mouth, we will allow them to peacefully protest and call out their hypocrisy in all different ways. The moment that they want to try to cross the line, we will have the National Guard or the police or whatever go ahead and keep the situation under control. That's an amazing question, and I would love.
It was a curveball. It was a BS question.
Really show what the left is.
The better answer would have been to just seriously talk about what a crock the January 6th entire process is.
And so to piggyback on what Ryan just said, he's right. Look, President Trump wanted the National Guard at D.C. He wanted it. They didn't put it there. All right. So now we got this smear campaign because they're trying to make sure that our next president doesn't run here in 2024. That's what they're trying to do. So they're trying to put all of our energy on that and the big lie. So like any other court case, folks, if there's new evidence that comes to surface, isn't it our responsibility to investigate that new evidence so we can find the truth? Because we all deserve to know the truth.
All right.
And 2,000 mules.
That was a much better answer, but to be fair, he had more time to come up with it.
We ran a question. Kevin Rinke gets the rebuttal. Patty?
Okay, Ralph, Michiganders from all political parties have expressed concern over Governor Whitmer's overreaction to the COVID pandemic, especially in comparison to other states. Governor Whitmer was one of the first to shut down schools. She shut down churches, hair salons, gyms, and restaurants while leaving strip clubs and marijuana businesses open. Family members were prohibited from visiting their loved ones in nursing homes over fear of spreading COVID, while at the same time, COVID-positive patients were intentionally being placed in nursing homes. Many mistakes were made during the pandemic. What would you have done differently?
I would not be promoting my own personal agenda to become vice president. I would be thinking about the citizens of Michigan. I would be surrounding myself with doctors who are not politicized, but rather who understand what evidence-based medicine is all about. Evidence-based medicine, the highest proof is called randomized control trials. That is what stands up in court. That is what wins cases. Governor Whitmer did not even go to that level, nor did she go to the bottom level of expert testimony. She just got her information from newspaper articles in England, and she did not have opportunity to, I'm sorry.
This is a confusing answer. He's stumbling over his words.
I would just be looking at real medicine, real science. She did not do that.
All right. Thank you, Ralph. Kevin Rinke, rebuttal.
It's apparent. Gretchen Whitmer knows how to play political science. She doesn't understand medical science. We lost small businesses. We hurt families. We hurt our children. We hurt our seniors, while we were used in a petri dish for her to audition for a position that she thought gave her more power and more sway. She was sworn to protect the people of Michigan, and she broke down on her responsibility.
All right. Thank you, Kevin Rinke.
Agreed,
All right,
Stephen. This whole thing is ridiculous, the
ask Ralph
format.
another question, and Ryan Kelly gets rebuttal.
Ralph, some people say they choose abortion because they cannot afford to raise a child without financial and medical support. Critics of welfare say some families have babies to make money from the government. Where do you fall in this debate?
I fall on the side of faith-based organizations coming alongside women and men who are having to make some very difficult decisions. There are groups out here in Michigan. One is called One Life for Life. And One Life for Life, folks, stands out in front of Planned Parenthood, convincing women they should not have a baby, offering to pay for diapers, food, and clothing for the first 3 years of that baby's life. I have a picture on my wall in my office from a gentleman at our church who left his engineering job to go do that very thing. And he has given me this poster that has probably 40 women who have given birth to those little children. So I would not be looking at the welfare system or government to pick up the slack when this abortion issue is over. I would be looking at faith-based organizations to come behind and next to people in their difficult times.
Ryan Kelly.
Can you please repeat the question real quick?
Sure. Some people say they choose abortion because they can't afford to raise a child without support, financial or medical. Some people say people have babies so they can get money from the government. Where do you fall on this spectrum?
I got 30 seconds here.
That's not a spectrum.
In the 60s, the Democrats tore apart the black families, wanting to make the welfare state, and they encouraged fatherless homes, and that very idea that you're talking about has been encouraged, and that's led to a lot of disaster. I believe that we need to be building up communities, and we need to be building up resources to offer to these individuals. Now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, this is a very real conversation that we have to have. And yes, leaning on the community, because we must always remember that government is the problem, not the solution. We need to lean on our faith communities for that.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. By the way, Ryan, just move the microphone just a little closer next time, okay? That was
Better?
good. All right. Perfect. Not that close. ML Elric, ask Garrett Saldano a question. Tudor Dixon gets a rebuttal.
Garrett, some Republican gubernatorial candidates want to eliminate Michigan's income tax, which raises $13 billion and accounts for about 2/3 of the state's general fund budget. Where will you find the money to replace this huge chunk of the fund that Michiganders rely on to provide public services?
Well, what we have to do is, just like I said, do forensic accounting. If you look at the population of Michigan over the past decade, 50 out of our 83 counties have lost a total of 100,000 people in population. That's tax revenue. So we need to attract these people and these businesses back to our state so we can increase tax revenue. But if you look at that same graph, our spending is out of control. So what's missing? We are overspending. So we have to do forensic accounting on our budget, and we have to go through that, and we have to eliminate the wasteful spending. When we can do that, we can do the things that Kevin Rinke wants to do and eliminate the state income tax. It's common sense solutions of what we need. But we can promise all of these things, and if we don't inspire businesses and families to move back to the state of Michigan, we're going to be dead in the water. And that's what we have to do by cutting regulations. We have to make sure that no governor can ever weaponize the health department again. We have to cut our budget, and we have to invest in long-term energy-dense solutions. If we do that, we'll be competing with the DeSantis of Florida, the Abbotts of Texas, and the Tennessees of the world. That's what we have to do, folks, and I'm the leader to get that done.
Richard on Facebook. No, you haven't missed anything.
The legislature has already found a way to reduce it in 2 different ways. And the governor has, of course, vetoed, because she's vetoed more bills than any other governor in the history of the state of Michigan. So we already have a plan to start to phase it out. We're working with the top economists across the nation to phase it out completely. But the best way is definitely to bring families here. Make Michigan the place you want to live, play, and work. Right? Make sure Michiganders are bringing other people here. And the best way to do that is make sure you have world-class education, safe cities, and it is affordable to live here. And we will treat business well.
All right. Thank you, Tudor Dixon. Patty, please ask Ryan Kelly a question. Kevin Rinke gets the rebuttal. Patty?
Ryan, in 2021, Ford announced it would be moving its electric car production from Michigan to Mexico and building a new mega campus in Tennessee, along with battery plants in Kentucky. Last week, Kellogg announced they will move their headquarters from the largest division of their business from Battle Creek to Chicago. If you're elected governor, what will you do to encourage corporations to come to Michigan and convince corporations already doing business in Michigan to stay?
Rolling blackouts coming your way. We know that the nuclear power plant that was just shut down, Consumers Energy wants to shut down all their coal-powered plants by 2025. We can't even run our air conditioners in our home, let alone attract businesses like manufacturers that need a lot of electricity. We want to become an agreement state here. I would sign for us to become an agreement state, take control of our nuclear energy program, build a robust nuclear energy program so we can provide inexpensive, reliable, cheap, and abundant and clean electricity here for the state of Michigan, which will attract manufacturers, keep them here. Our 6% corporate income tax needs to at least be cut in half, if not be done away with, to attract job creators to the state of Michigan, give them incentives to want to be here, create jobs, create prosperity for Michiganders.
All right. Thank you, Ryan Kelly. Kevin Rinke, rebuttal.
Yeah, I've spent my life creating an environment for the people that I lead to be successful in. Again, we create a tax environment that works. We're going to focus on line 5. It's 33,000 jobs, $2.87 billion of economic stimulus. We're going to focus on Space Force and bringing specialty aerospace products into Michigan. We're going to focus
This is a bad answer.
on artificial intelligence, one of the fastest growing technology fields. I know how to create business. At the same time, we're going to reward the people.
This is a typical Republican futurist kind of thing where, oh, I've got better ideas for how we could spend special interest money.
Ralph Friedman gets the rebuttal. ML?
Tudor, Michigan faces many harsh realities that require a governor who can separate fact from fiction. Local election officials from both parties, the Michigan Auditor General, even Republican state senators say election fraud did not occur here. How can Michiganders trust candidates to lead our state who continue to promote the fantasy
No, this will be
that the
spicy.
2020 election was corrupted or stolen?
We're going to be realistic here, right? And agree that fraud happens in all elections. But in this election, we had a unique situation where we had a Secretary of State who went against the rules, changed the rules at the last minute, and decided to do things that were considered unlawful. So that alone was fraudulent. When you have someone who decides to reduce the signature match after running a campaign saying, we don't need voter ID because we've got the signature match and that's perfect. And then when you get rid of that, what does that mean, Jocelyn? It looks a little fishy to me. And then on top of that, she sends out absentee ballot applications to everybody in the state. And we got $12 million from Zuckerberg. Then guess what?
This is a dodge.
The only state in the nation that didn't have any government oversight in that money. So where did it go? Well, let's see. That went to that went into a nonprofit and then was filtered out to Democrat consultants that went out to get out the vote for guess who? Democrats. So was there ballot harvesting? That's pretty hard to find. They have a great system and it helps when your Secretary of State is willing to do illegal things to help them.
All right. Thank you, Tudor Dixon. Ralph Rebrat.
It was a good political answer, but it was,
In
well, I'll come back to
2005,
it.
the Federal Election Commission established what was called the Carter-Baker Commission, and it said there are 2 ways to steal elections. One is, as Tudor had mentioned, mass mail-out ballots. The other one was lack of signature verification. Those are the very things, those are the playbook that they took to steal our election. I've always been telling people that Antrim County is God's gift to the nation. If 80% Republican county can vote in favor of Biden, that's ridiculous, folks. And we know
That was a red herring.
because we We know it was fraud.
All right, thank you. All right, the last question in this round. Patty asks Kevin Rinke a question. Garrett Soldano gets the rebuttal. Patty?
Well, this is the perfect question as a follow-up. Election fraud remains a top issue with Republican voters in Michigan. The recent 2000 Mules movie that's been seen over 2 million times.
Let's see if these answers are better.
Evidence of widespread voter fraud in 5 swing states, including Michigan. Using geolocation data from cell phones, True the Vote was able to detect over 500 ballot traffickers that delivered an estimated 125,000 illegal ballots in Detroit. Do you believe widespread fraud took place in Michigan in the 2020 election? And if so, what do you think should be done about it?
There's no question that there was election fraud. There's no question that there were election irregularities. The Supreme Court has ruled twice against this administration and their representatives pertaining to this election. We talk about common sense things, voter ID. I jest, you got to be alive to vote. You got to be properly registered. In a Rinke administration, we don't veto a law that says it's a felony if you vote twice. In a Rinke administration, we don't veto a law that says you have to clean up the 520,000 plus names on voter rolls that have been inactive for over 20 years. In a Rinke administration, not only do we check signatures, we provide ID because that's what the people want and deserve. It's our responsibility in government to offer a fair, safe, honest, accurate, accessible election.
I hate in my administration, we're going to, they're trying to get the audience to think past the sale. It's a stupid psychological technique. I don't care for it.
All right, Garrett Soldano, rebuttal.
Look, they've asked this question in every single debate. Everyone knows our stance on this. So my goodness gracious, 2,000 mules, there's new evidence. It has to be investigated. If anyone ever interferes with our elections, that's called treason, and they must be accountable and held responsible for as such. That is what needs to happen, folks. It's common sense. The legislature already did their job. They already passed common sense election integrity things, and we've been helping these Stand Up Michigan and other grassroots organizations to secure the 22 election by recruiting thousands of licensed election inspectors.
All right, thank you, Garrett Soldano. All right, that concludes the Q&A part of the debate. The next part of the debate, open forum. It'll be a discussion. Our panelists will introduce a topic, and any of the candidates can comment. Candidates can question each other if they want. We'd like a give and take amongst the candidates and the panelists, but I'll make sure
Langton is obnoxious.
Dominates the discussion. All right, here we go. Patty, please start the discussion.
Sure. Kevin, I want to do a follow-up question regarding the election fraud. The question was, do you believe widespread election fraud took place in Michigan?
Again, I commented, there's fraud, and it occurred in this past election.
Widespread, yes or no?
Yes or no? It doesn't have to be widespread to lose an election.
You know, CNN came after me. They said when I came out with my Dead Democrats Vote ad, they came after me. And you know what their conclusion was? Dead Republicans vote too. The whole point is this: it's not okay to have inaccurate elections. It's not okay.
Also, dead people don't actually vote. It's who's filling out their ballots for them.
Followed by our Secretary of State. It's not okay.
Let me get
harvest ballots.
Right. Thank you, Kevin. Garrett,
I have a question. Who up here has been doing anything about our 2022 election?
What was that?
What have you been doing?
What's your question?
Because what our movement has been doing is we have been recruiting thousands of licensed election inspectors to get involved. We've been recruiting all these people to make sure our 2022 election.
Don't say all these people, Garrett. Don't take credit for what Rescue Michigan did too. I have it on good authority. We recruited the most poll workers.
I have never heard you come out and recruit a licensed election inspector.
You know what? Then you haven't been listening, and we haven't been together, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There was 11-1 in every one of my stump speeches. When I bring up election, you know what I say? Get involved. If it's important to you, go out and do something about it. This last election, the Democrats were playing chess while the Republicans played checkers.
Ralph,
not going to happen.
Ralph, do you want to get in on this discussion?
I do. I just want to.
Hold on, you guys. Go ahead, Ralph.
There are two things I want to talk about. One is I want to ask the panel up here, how many of you believe that the widespread election fraud was enough to swing the election toward Biden? Raise your hand with me.
Clarify what?
My question is this: how many of you believe that the election fraud was big enough, or to use Patty's words, widespread enough to change to that Trump should have been rightly elected, but Biden got in? How many of you believe that there was that?
Who thinks
much
Trump should have been elected
Yes.
because of the
Yes.
widespread?
I believe that.
Show of hands. There's that much. I think
He's
they-
still my
A
president.
lot of hands going up and down, up and down.
2024, he's going to be our president again.
So
It's a
so,
stupid
Gary,
setup
you
question,
asked
though.
a very good question. You asked the question: who was involved?
Because the real
in
answer is we don't know.
in the election. Of November
That's the problem.
2020, who was speaking out against it? Ryan raised his hand, and somebody out there said, Ryan, you have claimed on the trail that you are the only candidate who has stood up against election fraud in November of 2020. Do you remember saying that?
That is correct. Just because you were at the TCF Center with your badge out there doing anything, what'd you do afterwards? Did
Okay.
you stop any of the fraud?
Well, you didn't stop the fraud either, but I will tell you this. Ryan has
Good
been
retort.
telling people he's the only one who's been on the campaign trail in 2020. Folks, I filed an affidavit with President Trump. I filed an affidavit with the legislature. I went a week later, left my tree stand to go to Lansing to have a testimony of what I saw.
Tudor, do you want
And
to?
so what I'm saying to you today
All right.
is Ryan has been saying things that aren't true. When he says I am the only candidate who stood up, folks, do your research. That is absolutely not true.
All right.
So here
Ryan,
we
go
I'm
ahead,
gonna
Ryan.
Jump in on that, right? Since you're going to call me out on that, you were in Alcona County and you said that you wouldn't go attend the Mackinac Policy Conference. You're on video saying that. Did you attend the Mackinac Policy Conference? Yes or no?
I did attend that because
Yeah,
they
there you
changed.
go.
Yeah,
You're telling lies too, Ralph.
Ryan, you
All
are
right.
good at raising your voice to get your point
Right.
across.
Hold on.
but
I want to get
here's-
Tudor. Let me get Tudor in. I think she wants to say something to you on this
Well,
topic.
you mentioned the Mackinac
Hold on.
Policy
Shh.
Conference. So Ryan, I just want to ask you, as governor, are you going to tell corporations that what they can and can't do? If a corporation requires someone to wear a shirt and shorts into their operation, are you going to say they can't? Because we are for small government.
You should pounce on her for this
We're
one.
for small government.
That's it.
Not
She lost my
against
vote.
Government mandates. No one should have.
Didn't
a
really have it to
government
begin with,
mandate,
but-
I do not want government in my business telling me how to run my
All right.
business either.
Ryan, answer. You can answer.
What makes you ask me that question, I guess?
Because you say that we were all a problem for going to the Detroit Policy Conference because you think they shouldn't be allowed to mandate their private organization.
That's not what he
Are
said.
you going to demand that you control private organizations as governor? Because I've heard a lot of executive order talk
All right,
from you,
let-
and that's exactly
That's a
So
cheap and
private-
false attack.
What kind of restrictions on private enterprise? I think that's the question. Go ahead, Ralph.
Great question.
I'm not-
Yes, when it comes to vaccine mandates, we will make it so that there is no vaccine mandates across the state. We will not allow corporations
All right.
to medically discriminate against the people. Yes.
All right, let me get Garrett in there real
My-
quick.
Good.
I'm gonna-
My name-
Go ahead, Garrett. Go ahead, Garrett.
Look, we don't want government's boot on our neck. We can all agree with that. So if an employer wants to have some type of policy, that's fine. But as your next governor, I'm going to stand for something. We're going to honor your medical waiver. We're going to honor your religious waiver. And what I'm going to tack on is called a philosophical waiver, because as an American, you have no right to ask me my religion or my health history. You have a choice. That's how you get around with it.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's
Charlie,
ask,
Charlie, my
Good.
name was brought out. My name was brought out.
real quick. Go ahead.
Ryan said, Ralph, did you not say in Alcona County that you were not going, and did you go? And the answer is yes. And the reason why I said no first is because the conference required a vaccine and required proof of vaccine free. And I said, I am not going under those circumstances. When they changed the rules for everybody who attended, I said, I am going.
All right. Okay. Let's go. New topic here. ML.
I thought
New
they only
topic.
changed the
New
rules for the
There are some
debaters.
Republicans who are concerned that the chance for the party to win the governorship, the attorney general's seat, and the secretary of state is going to be jeopardized because there's so much talk about 2020. There's not enough about 2022. Do you share those concerns, and what would you say to those people?
I think
know,
you've
Tudor.
Go
All
ahead,
right, go ahead,
Tudor.
Tudor.
I think you've seen a lot of us focusing on what the state needs to do to get ahead. And right now, the state is suffering in areas of education, in workforce, and when the state is killing business. I think if you were on the trail following the candidates, you would hear that, especially from me, you would hear that I am here for parents. I am here for business. We have big problems in the state. COVID exposed those problems. We have to look at some of the good things that came out of COVID and seeing how Gretchen Whitmer treats business, this heavy hand. This comes down from her entire bureaucracy. We have agencies, whether it is the environmental agency or licensing agency, that is driving business out of the state, which is hurting all of our families. So we are focused on making Michigan family friendly.
All right, let's get Kevin Rinke. I think you look like you want to get in on this.
No, I think it starts, and I say it everywhere I go.
ML,
It's
is he?
about
I'm sorry.
having an environment for people to be successful in. It starts with education, and it needs to be fixed. We have the fastest falling education in America.
They're both kind of evading the question.
It starts with a business environment and a tax environment that's favorable. That's why I called for the elimination of the personal income tax.
All right.
There's 9 states that don't have personal.
The question was 2020 versus 2022.
9 grew during COVID economically. All 9 grew in the number of
Let me get.
citizens.
Hold on.
Finish,
All right.
Charlie. We talk about
30
states
seconds.
like Florida. We talk about states like Texas. We talk about states like Tennessee. We talk about states like Nevada and Wyoming, and they're kicking Michigan's butt. And it's going to stop under a Rinke administration. And it starts with having the right tax structure and the right business structure. And I don't think there's
All right.
anyone.
All right.
in
Let me
here
get.
that
Let me
disagrees
get
with
Garrett. Go ahead.
I forgot what the question was.
So, yeah, let me.
I know what the
I'm gonna
question
say
is.
what
Let me
Ryan
answer
does.
that.
Can you repeat the question?
ML, why'd you change it up just a tad?
I'm
Okay?
listening.
Jim,
I
no,
have
Garrett
the
didn't
answer.
support the vax
Don't
mandate.
stop.
We
We've
heard
heard
you
some of
talk
this
about 2022. Do you think your opponents are talking too much about 2020? And then Ralph wants to get in on that.
Ralph?
I want to get on that. If there was a bank that was robbed,
Ralph Rebant wants to get in on this governor's race.
we knew that it was robbed.
He's pulling it
We
like
said,
1%.
let's just put up some camera. Let's put a few security guards at the door, and we'll forget about it.
Stephen, no, he didn't
would
say
be
that.
Ludicrous. I'm in law enforcement. The chiefs of police have endorsed me. That's ludicrous. You have to investigate. And so just to say we have now cameras over drop boxes or we've got more people in there, we have to go back and prosecute, because if we don't prosecute, we will never get this thing fixed.
Go ahead. All right.
So, I mean, this can apply not only to the election.
Larry,
but
no, you're
basically
wrong.
What you do in 2020. I think that's what we need to understand.
No, that's not what he said, Patty.
Is we need leadership. Now, Ryan and I may not agree on our approach and everything, but I respect Ryan, the fact that he has been there ever since the beginning, standing up for all of us. And so have I. My question is to the other 3 candidates. You guys are all talking a big game right now. You truly are. And you're giving a bunch of lip service. But what in the hell did you do?
No.
We'll get back to that after the debate's over.
I know. My question to
Garrett,
all of you.
specifically, what lip service are
did
they
you
giving?
do in 2020? What did you do in 2020? That's what the people want to know.
I'll tell you what I
because we want
did.
a fighter.
I'll tell you what I did. I'm tired of the story that you guys tell. Well, I'm the only one that stood up. I counseled the people that Whitmer locked down who were suicidal. I counseled police officers and their children. Just because you didn't see me at that point standing up when I'm doing chaplain ministry, serving the people of the state, you cannot stand there and say nobody
Ryan,
else
let me
did
get you
anything.
in on here. He said lip. Are you giving lip service, Ryan?
I didn't say Ryan was giving lip service.
Who's giving the
I
lip
said he's been
service?
standing up.
Tudor's giving lip. But Ryan,
He's
go ahead.
implying
Get in
that
there.
we are
Address the
giving lip
question.
service.
You ask if we are going to be losing credibility from the governor's seat, the attorney general seat, and the secretary of state seat by talking about 2020 too much.
This is turning into a circus.
Speaking about a broad array of issues. And yes, we do continue to bring 2020 up. And you know what? The left is continuing to push further and further left. They're talking about they don't even know how to define a woman nowadays. Okay. So they've gone so far off the rocker. We are focused on reality. And I think that's going to resonate with a heck of a lot more people. You know, Patty, you gave a statistic talking about 11% of people, they only care something along the lines of that about abortion. Now, you know, the big topics are the inflation, the gas prices, and the food prices. It is not January 6th. It is not about all this other nonsense that the left is wanting to do.
Tudor, real quick, you want to say something on this topic?
I started fighting for conservative causes years ago. We started a company in 2017 to go into middle and high schools and fight against CNN 10 in our middle and high schools. We created a program to show kids how great America is, to show kids jobs. And I've been fighting for conservative voices ever since. And so when these guys were out there doing their protests, I was making sure it was broadcast nationwide.
All right, thank
Charlie,
you.
I'm sorry, Charlie, please, 10
We were
seconds.
doing more than protesting.
I was serving the citizens of this state when these guys were in diapers.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
This
Patty,
is
new
stupid.
topic.
Wait a minute.
Okay,
He's saying
this question is for
I
everyone.
gotta say something real quick. This is what everybody came here to see tonight, and this is
No,
what
I
we
didn't.
need. So thank you guys.
No, this is not what we
Keep
need.
it up.
All right. Patty, do something.
No, we need real
All right,
debate.
the next question is for everyone. By a show of hands, how many of the candidates have openly endorsed Matt DePerno for Attorney General or Christina Caramo for Secretary of State, or both?
I'll go first on that. I
Okay.
endorsed Matt and Christina before the state convention, and I was out there with them at state convention promoting them. And I was even told that I lost a couple of votes because of that, because other people supported Tom Leonard. Enough of that nonsense. Come out and support who you support and stand and fight for them.
Garrett?
I took a different approach because in the beginning, when we first announced, the establishment got around James Craig, who is no longer with us. And that was garbage because the Michigan GOP should be staying out of the race and allow we, the people, to determine who we want to have represent us in all levels of office. So I made a vow that I would stay out of the races because I didn't want to contribute to the races. But obviously they have my full support, and I know they're going to do great because we need to get rid of the terrible three. And I say vote the O's. Caramo, DePerno, Soldano.
All right. Tudor?
Good answer.
Tudor?
Yes, we have also seen how it's hurt candidates when other candidates come in. Candidates should be running their own races, but we are so supportive of our wonderful Secretary of State and Attorney General candidates.
Okay.
Also a good answer.
Yeah, I respected the people at convention. There's a process. And as soon as they were elected, I was right there shaking their hands. The people have spoken. And as your next governor, I'm going to lead the party with them to a better Michigan.
All right.
And looking forward to it.
Ralph?
I support.
That was kind of a, I didn't really support them answer.
Because I have good taste and I know who can lead the state. So I was in favor of both Christina and Matt, and I'm on record as supporting such.
Let's do a new topic real quick. Whoever,
Sure.
ML?
The Supreme Court, in its abortion ruling, at least one justice indicated that the Supreme Court may be open to reviewing other precedent and possibly undoing laws that allow same-sex marriages, making sodomy illegal.
Liar.
Do you think that's judicial overreach, and how do you stand on those positions?
They need
The position. My position is you're a liar.
And that's one thing as Christians.
You should read the decision.
Well, let's get to the persecution of Christians right now because of what we stand for, and we're telling that we're homophobic and we're racist and all this other garbage. And so in my Catholic religion, marriage is defined as a man and a woman. And so I have no problem because I have people in the LGBTQ community that are family members, and I love them just as much as I love everyone else. But if they want to have the same benefits as what a marriage is, then I wish they would have respected my religion and called it something up with the same things that they get with being
This is a weird answer.
But if they can't get married, that makes it tough, right?
Well, you can call it something else and allow them to it. You
That
can do whatever
weird
you want to call it.
answer,
But
not good.
Catholic faith defines it as a man and a woman.
The Supreme Court said like 100 times in that decision, this
Does that make
only
it right or
applies to
wrong?
abortion
That's not
because
belief,
it's
but I
only
should
with
be
abortion
persecuted
that
for
someone
my
is being killed.
Ryan?
It doesn't just, you can't just do this all the time.
The Supreme Court decisions that are coming out recently are very powerful. And what they're doing is they're giving a lot of power back to the states, which is where it belongs in the first place, right? That was the decision that overturned Roe versus Wade there. It wasn't about abortion as much as it was about giving the power back to the states. And I believe that the federal government the Supreme Court needs to start rolling back a lot of those things and give the power back to the states where it belongs. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution lays out the job description of the federal government. Now, on these issues specifically, the Michigan Constitution defines a marriage between one man and one woman. And that is my belief also. And I think that there are many people that they want to be able to, sleep with whoever they want to, and that should be their right. That should not be pushed on our children. That should not be made into mainstream and pushed in our schools through this transgender LGBTQ.
Let me just room for time. That's all. Tudor, you want to add in, or Kevin or Ralph? Anybody?
I do.
Go ahead, real quick.
Yeah, I tell people because of my love for the Lord and my understanding of marriage from the scriptures, I tell people that I am not running for the judge of the universe. I'm running for the governor of Michigan. And we have, as was mentioned, Article 1, Section 25 of our Constitution, Michigan Constitution, says that for the betterment of society, Marriage is between a man and a woman.
All right.
I draw the line where God does, and that's where I stand.
Kevin, real quick.
I'm just happy to say my partner is my wife.
All right. All right.
That's a
You
weird
tell me,
non-answer. I mean, so far, I mean, Kelly's was the best of those.
Forcing college students to be vaccinated as a condition to attend taxpayer-funded colleges in Michigan.
Hot
And you
garbage.
believe that was a mistake.
Absolutely wrong.
No government mandates, no government mandates, certainly not at our schools, no way, not our kids.
I would have froze funding to those schools.
I would have
until they
cut
dropped
funding.
those mandates. Absolutely wrong.
I'm not only going to freeze funding, but I'm going to remove funding for our colleges and universities from the budget. There's way too much money. But on this particular issue, folks, let me tell you this.
That'd be a
When
great
was
answer
asked,
for
"Hey, what
like
did you
just
do
U
in
of M and
2020?"
maybe
I
a few
was
others.
signing religious exemptions for college students, for doctors and nurses, even for people in the military. As a pastor, I was doing that because I stood up for them.
Okay. All right. Anybody? Let's let a new topic.
It's my understanding that everyone on the panel opposes abortion. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. But are there exceptions that you would support for rape, incest, life of the mother? I believe the 19.
Here we go again. Had this one in 2 previous debates.
Life of the mother. Yep.
What exceptions, if any, would you support as Michigan?
I'll support that 1931 law, exactly what you said. Life of the mother, that the baby can't come out with via C-section, but it's at the moment of conception.
Anybody change it?
And I got crucified on The View for saying that. Who watches The View in here? Nobody? Yeah, exactly. Thank God Whoopi was on suspension. That's all I have to say.
All right. Ryan?
What?
I mean, I think we've already answered all of these questions, and I think a lot of us have some of the same standpoints. I think we should be asking more difficult questions. That kind of
Yeah, good. Call out these idiot moderators.
Well, could you
I
answer
agree.
that one? It'll only take 10 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. 1931 law is great, but there's very
Great.
few
We're good
instances
then.
where the
Next.
mother's life would need to be saved. Very, very few instances ever.
All right, I want to answer.
Anybody different on that?
Candidate that said that I follow the same position as Ronald Reagan and Donald J. Trump. Life of the mother, rape, and incest.
Thank you, Mr. Rinky, for reminding us that Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump are not pro-life.
These guys got to talk.
Well, okay. It's all right.
All right, real quick. Here's the. I have absolutely no exceptions, and the reason why is because when a mother is under duress and that pregnancy is questionable, she does not go. Listen, she does not go to an abortion mill. She goes to the hospital, and the doctors try to save both lives. That's what happens. So I have no exceptions.
Okay.
But I have one quick question that we've never answered. This would help you guys, the whole group, find out where we all stand.
Good.
Who believes that at conception, there's a person at conception?
It's a baby.
Raise your hand if you believe at
That's the
conception
science,
there's a person.
guys.
It's the baby.
That's the science.
DNA.
They all agree.
I mean, that's-
They all
I
agree.
just wanna
They're not
say
raising their
that
hands.
I am pro-life. I received the right to life endorsement. I am pro-life with the exceptions for life of the mother.
Do you believe that?
Please let her answer.
Let her answer. Let her answer. Go ahead, Tudor.
I am pro-life with exceptions for life of the mother, but I think that this is such a huge opportunity.
Richard
for
on
the state
YouTube
of
says, where are the
Michigan.
questions
As we
regarding
see
2A and where's the
corporate
questions
America
regarding
say
no
that
fault?
They're going to fly people out of the state to have abortions.
I'm just going to be glad when
We
this
are
is over.
calling on corporate America to come around family and say, we will pay for your health care to have that baby. We will pay for child care to support working moms. Instead of Gretchen Whitmer, who says, when Roe v. Wade came into play,
Right.
women could finally work and have their own businesses. Women can work and have their own businesses with family, and we support that.
All right. Only about a minute left. Patty, new topic, real quick.
Gretchen Whitmer has been one of the most divisive governors in Michigan. In 2012, Whitmer, who was a senator at the time, bragged about, quote, opening the doors to the Capitol, end quote, to let angry protesters inside where lawmakers were voting on the highly contentious right to work legislation. Yet today, Gretchen Whitmer calls citizens who protest over election fraud at the U.S. Capitol insurrectionists. If you are elected,
Patty McMurray's the best debater on the stage.
Political divide in our state.
Friends, I've been counseling married couples who are at odds with one another, ready to kill each other, ready to go to divorce court, and they have come together. I've counseled parents and children. I've counseled businesses whose difficulty of where children inherit something from mom and dad. The two sons want to go in different directions.
We got to do about time. We only have about a minute left over here. Tudor,
We're having fun.
Want to answer? I know you're having fun. This is good. Go ahead. Quick answer.
Yes, I think it is time for us to come together for common sense solutions for this state. It's so important that we make sure that we have choice in education. And right now we have an opportunity to reach across the aisle and have parents come together and have choice.
let me
Have
ask-
dollars follow the child.
We only have it in the age of time, though. We kind of know the answer. How do you differ on that topic, Garrett?
We're not the ones dividing this nation right now. They are. And that's one thing right now that's happening. One thing that's happening right now is everyone is walking away. Our grandparents, our parents' Democratic Party does not exist anymore. And people are coming over. There is 1 million, I think, new Republican voters now. It's not going to be a red wave. It's going to be a red tsunami.
Ryan, real quick.
Are you saying that Gretchen Whitmer is an insurrectionist? Is that what you said? I believe that's what I heard. Look, we find unity in our country by respecting our United States Constitution, by respecting freedom and liberty. And we will not negotiate with these big government communists.
Kevin,
not going to happen.
10 seconds.
Yeah, Gretchen's a hypocrite.
Okay.
That was
Okay,
5
that's
seconds.
less than 10 seconds. All right, that's it. All right, that's it for this open forum. Thank you, candidates. I appreciate that. All right, closing statements now. We were going to go in an order that was picked before the debate. Garrett Soldado, 1 minute closing, please.
That's what we're looking for right now is leadership. Somebody that's going to unite the party, unite the people, and bring people from the other side to our side with conversation. We also need a fighter. We need somebody that's been battle hardened against Governor Whitmer. And guess what? I am. I've been holding her accountable for the last 2 years and 3 months nonstop. I've been out there jeopardizing my life, my family's life, my business, my license as a doctor for the people, not for because of a political career or a political agenda. It's time for ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And that's what I'm going to bring to the table. I will continue to inspire and motivate Michigan's greatest asset, and that is the people, to get things done. And that's what we have been able to accomplish as a movement, not only getting rid of that 1945 law, but getting local communities involved, getting people to run for school boards, city councils, city commissions, recruiting licensed election inspectors. Our movement with the right leadership is already getting things done. I'm not up here giving you lip service. I'm up here actually doing it. I'm Garrett Soldano, and I am your next governor.
All right, thank you. Ralph Rebrat, closing.
Fine close.
Folks, I've been saying for the last year, and I'm not giving lip service to anything, I have 35 years of history standing up for truth. And as I look at what I've been saying, and as people have heard me say, if we don't get God right in this next election, nothing will matter. Friends, I say that because God has given us rights and liberties that the left is trampling. If they don't come from God, anybody can take away what you have. God has raised every one of you up for this moment in time. The house is on fire. We need to each bring our bucket, whatever we can, bring our bucket to that fire to put it out. Folks, I want you to think about this phrase. As
Yeah,
you
I'm
walk
rolling
out
my
the
eyes
door.
too, Patty.
End the disaster, vote for the pastor.
Thank you, Ralph Rebrat.
Self-serving.
Tudor Dixon, please.
This is a pivotal year for the state of Michigan because this governor has done so much damage to this state. So we need to get in there and work with the legislature. And I have already been working with the legislature on important bills. First and foremost, let's protect our kids. And that's what we were able to do today.
That's a red flag.
Let's make sure we bring back education, and let's make sure business succeeds in this state. We are on the verge of losing our legacy industries. You saw this happen with Kellogg's. You've seen this happen with Ford. We have to change the way we treat our citizens and our businesses in this state. And we can come together across the aisle and make sure that Michigan thrives again. Make sure that this is the place, as I said before.
I'll tell you in a minute, Patty, it's almost over.
Play and work. And I am excited to work alongside all of you and serve you as your governor. So I ask you that I would please earn your vote and you would let me serve you as the next governor of Michigan.
Thank you, Tudor Dixon. Kevin Rinke.
So in our lives, when we contribute to our communities and our state, there is a time to learn, there is a time to earn, and there's a time to serve. My time to serve is now. I'm not part of the establishment. I don't pander to it. I'm a businessman. I'm not owned by anyone. I can do the right things for the people of Michigan, just like I did it for my employees, just like I did it for the millions of customers that we've served, just like I'll do it for you. Remember when they said, what's he going to do, wave a wand? It was about not understanding leadership. And Donald J. Trump showed leadership. Kevin Rinke is going to show leadership for Michigan. And I only win when you win. That's my litmus test. Yes, I'm putting forth my personal funds, but more importantly, I'm giving something back to you that I can never get back.
All right.
My time.
All right.
I love this state.
Thank
I
you.
love the people of Michigan, and I look forward to your
thank you,
support.
Kevin.
Oh, aren't you so generous?
Ryan Kelly.
Look.
John Adams said, always stand on principle, even if you stand alone. I stand alone on this stage today. And yes, I'm going to bring up the Mackinac Policy Conference again.
Oh, good.
Because at that Mackinac Policy Conference, the Detroit Chamber wanted everyone to show their vaccine identification cards or take negative COVID tests as a way to enter, except for the governor's debate. They segregated them. They moved them outside in a tent. They treated these other governor candidates like second-class citizens in order to come up there and debate. And I said no. I said no to vaccine mandates. I stood my ground. TV cameras were up there. I passed on the TV cameras. God had a funny way. The FBI shows up, lots of national attention from there. If you're looking for someone that's standing on principle, somebody that's going to fight for us no matter what the cost, on August 2nd, 33 days from now, vote for Ryan Kelly to make Gretchen Whitmer a one-term governor.
All right. That will end tonight's debate. Let's give a big round of applause to all of the candidates.
All right, good. We're done. Thank God. That was awful, folks. That was insufferable. That was a poorly planned, poorly executed debate. The only exception being Patty McMurray asking good questions, but the format was awful. That nonsense of having one random other contestant rebut the first answers in the beginning when there was really hardly any rebutting to be done made no sense whatsoever. Being only 1 hour, I guess, was a mercy. Having this is I think the second debate we've seen the candidates all sitting down. I think that's so improper. They should be standing up at podiums. Maybe that's a limitation of the room. Maybe they don't have enough podiums for everybody or whatever, but I think having them sitting makes it look way too casual. The nasty, snippy exchanges in the middle didn't serve anything, didn't serve anybody. Overall, a lot of the questions were repeats of questions from the prior debates where they gave the same answers over again. They failed, as unfortunately my efforts to no avail, to ask them to ask about something like immigration. So we heard some very curious answers from Tudor Dixon on that in a previous debate. Didn't get asked, as Richard pointed out on YouTube, nobody asked about Second Amendment stuff. Well, actually, they did ask about Second Amendment stuff. Richard, you were late for that. They did talk about that in the beginning before you came in. But there's something else that you asked about. Oh, the no-fault insurance. Yeah, nobody asked about that. A lot of issues they really haven't been grilled on at all. A lot of the answers were unimpressive overall, honestly. Nobody's answers on any question were like, wow, that was a great answer. I mean, there were some satisfactory ones here and there. There were a few duds. Ralph Rebrandt, who was, I think, polling at 1%, has no business even being on that stage. He added nothing to it except take away time. I think they added 2 whole questions about abortion, which, you know, at this point, everybody knows where they all are on abortion. Rebrandt's no exceptions at all. Rinke, and as I mentioned when he was giving the answer, says, I'm like Donald Trump. I'm pro-life with the exceptions of rape, incest, and the life of the mother. Well, if you're pro-life, you don't have an exception for rape or incest because you can't kill a baby because of what the father did. But that's the position he took. The other 3 all have the same one, which is the standard pro-life view, I guess, although a lot of pro-lifers, as Rebrandt actually did point out, would say that, you know, this life of the mother exception is really just something that a lot of abortionists will abuse. Oh yeah, definitely, she's going to die for sure. Yeah, we had to abort the thing. Yeah, Jeff says lame debate. Obviously, a lot of you folks in the chat have your own favorites, and we're cheering for your candidates. And I would wager that not a one of you changed your views on any of them overall. There was, I want to mention this in the closing. Patty P asked me what I meant when I said it was a red flag that Tudor Dixon said she was working with the legislature today. The reason why I say that's a red flag, Patty, is because that means the legislature is coordinating to push her up, because what she has no relationship to any lawmakers, and they had nothing on the agenda for this week about passing something to protect children's rights. It was a political stunt that they pulled, and they timed it with her campaign to prop her up. That's what that was about. That to me is a red flag that Shirkey and Wentworth and all of the rhinos in the House and Senate are working together to push her up, going along with the DeVos endorsement, which is fishy, the Chamber of Commerce endorsement, which again is a red flag on the immigration stuff. So I would say, and by the way, I would say compared to the previous debates, Tudor had the biggest improvement over previous ones. And some of the earlier ones, I thought she was kind of shrill and just unpleasant, whereas in this one she was smiling a lot more. And she didn't say anything bad in this debate overall. But the things that we're seeing on the outside of the debates, the coordination that's going on with the legislature. Yeah, Jim Weeks brings up Right to Life, another fake pro-life organization. Right to Life is always the first one to compromise on life issues. Classic example. No, Jim Weeks is seriously really. Yeah, Jim, I'll tell you some stories about Right to Life of Michigan. First of all, they always endorse incumbents, no matter how pro-abort they are. I remember when Hank Vaupel blocked John Riley's pro-life bill in the legislature for 2 whole terms. They kept endorsing him and endorsing him again and again and again. When John Riley ran for office, when he was primarying the incumbents, they voted to endorse the incumbent who was not the least bit pro-life. I remember when John finally got to office and he met with them in his office, he was mad at them. He was like, what are you talking about? I marched on Washington with the Right to Life people. I was fighting for protecting babies for years and years and years, and Brad Jacobson never did anything for him. Why'd you endorse him? They're like, oh, well, you see, John, we just always endorse the incumbents because that's what we do. So yeah, I'm not impressed by Tudor Dixon having the Right to Life endorsement at all. And actually, the other thing is, normally what Right to Life does is they always endorse incumbents, and in open races they endorse everybody who signs their pledge or whatever. So why they gave the exclusive one to Tudor Dixon, from what I think someone in chat was saying in a previous debate, was basically just they thought she was most likely to win the primary, so they gave her the endorsement. And that's the way we talked about this in previous streams. That's just the way the establishment right-wing organizations talk about. Jim Week says Right to Life is the strongest pro-life entity out there. Sure, man. Okay. Believe what you like, man. I'll not bring up this the SBA list, the National Pro-Life Alliance, the Heartbeat Coalition, or any of the others, but whatever. Anyway, doesn't matter. And getting back to my original point, my concern to Dixon did just fine in this debate. But as I say, there's just a growing number of warning signs for cozying up to the establishment. My prediction, she'll get the Trump endorsement, and the grassroots will split between Kelly and Soldano. Sadly, that's what I think is going to probably happen. But look, folks, this is why I'm not getting too obsessed with the governor's race at all. What's going to happen is going to happen. So that's why I'm focusing on state house races, state senate races, the legislature. But that being said, overall, I'm not terribly impressed with any of these folks right now. Rinke, once again, as usual, came across as curmudgeonly, wooden. I think sometimes he thought his short zinger answers were clever. They didn't really come off that way. Ryan Kelly and I think Ryan Kelly more than Soldano had a few one-liners that didn't really land, but so what? As I said in the beginning, though, Ryan Kelly being arrested for January 6th was a terrible crime, but the fashion police should have arrested him a long time ago. But going back to this thing about, there was this question earlier about what Soldano said with response to vaccine mandates. And no, he did not say he encourages and would, well, first of all, let's go back to something else. Dixon encouraged corporate vaccine mandates. She made the position that a business should be able to do whatever it wants. And she's the one that said, oh, it's not a conservative thing to tell businesses what to do. And that's the same position that some of these so-called free marketers have. People like Steve Johnson saying it's okay if social media kicks off anybody they want for their political views. Well, there's a lot of nuances in the law that these free market people don't really seem to understand. For example, when you hold yourself out as politically neutral and you're the public square, then the rules are different, because then you're breaking your advertising policy. When you have a job, I would argue, when you got that job, nobody in America thought when they took their jobs they would be fired for not taking an experimental drug. Nobody could even imagine something that ridiculous. And I would argue that is what in contract law is called an unconscionable term. So I have no problem whatsoever with the government prohibiting any and all private entities from requiring, conditioning vaccines or any other experimental drugs as a condition of employment. That's not a free market thing at all. But that was Tudor Dixon's position. Now, what Soldano actually said was, he said it's okay for businesses to have policies, but I will honor the religious exemption, a philosophical exemption, and there was some other third exemption he gave that basically means anyone can take an exemption. So not quite saying he encourages and endorses vaccine mandates for businesses. He says, no, we honor people's right to opt out of those things. So no, Garrett Soldano did not say that he supports vaccine mandates for businesses. So let's just clear that one out right there. Jim Weeks says Trump endorsement is key. Yeah, I know, it's a shame, but Trump endorsement usually is the thing that comes last in these contests. Usually Trump waits to see who the front runner is and then endorses it so he can ride the coattails and say, look how influential I am. Some people in the chat are talking about Mehmet Oz. Yeah. Yeah, Trump's made some terrible endorsements, and whatever, that's Trump. Anyway, regardless of all that, my prediction is, as I said, I think Trump's going to endorse Dixon. I know she's been really working hard for that. And Trump reciprocates that kind of stuff. I don't know. Maybe Ryan Kelly's got a shot now because he was there January 6th. I doubt it, though. I think Trump's trying to do everything he can to make January 6th go away. So we'll see. Patty P says, no, wrong. It's the same thing. We shouldn't even need an exemption. I lived through it at Ford. It's awful. Well, I know it is. I certainly know it is awful. Well, we'll see. We'll see. And maybe Soldano will clarify his remarks later. I don't know. You guys can go back. You can watch it. You can decide for yourselves. Yeah, Jeff Laura says Trump also loves Operation Warp Speed. DeSantis 24. Right. Yep. Trump has a lot of personal failings, and frankly, I wish he was doing more to improve on them in his time out to pasture. But I think he's coming around a bit from spending more time on the campaign trail, on the road, doing all these rallies, getting to interact with his supporters again. But he still has this constant problem of having swamp rats in his inner orbit. And his innermost orbit, his daughter and her husband, Javanka. And of course, the whole America First policy group, which is a bunch of neocons, rhinos, that are his shadow cabinet. So, yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, folks, hope you guys enjoyed this. I didn't learn much of anything from it other than, again, I think the biggest takeaway I got was seeing more and more warning signs that Tudor Dixon is not going to be a good candidate. But then again, if she is the nominee, we have certainly had less conservative nominees than that. So we'll see. Ghostly says, I think we have Whitmer again. What do you think, Adam? It's hard. It's really hard to say at this point, Stephen. Honestly, it really depends on, number one, who the nominee is, but also what kind of campaign they actually run. Are they going to run a really hard, aggressive campaign? Are they really going to call out Gretchen Whitmer? And the other big question mark is, will the mainstream conservatives support the nominee and do what it takes to get rid of Whitmer? And again, I think it depends on who the nominee is. Obviously, the DeVosses will be happy with Dixon. I'm sure they will not be happy with Ryan Kelly. There may be other sources of financing out there, but from what I've heard, the January 6th committees have impressed nobody except for some of the GOP mega donors, and that's a problem too. So we'll see. Like I say, it depends who the nominee is. Depends what kind of campaign they run. So who knows? I mean, for all we know, Tudor Dixon gets the nominee and says, all right, thanks, DeVosses. Guess what? And then turns her back on. That's not going to happen that way, though. It never does. It never does, folks. So Jim Weeks says only Tudor Dixon can win in November. Trump will assist her. I'm not sure. And for all we've made fun of Kevin Rinke a little bit, but the fact is, he's got more credentials that we normally look for in governor candidates than anyone else on that stage combined. I mean, at least he's a business owner. The other four, you've got Soldano, he started saying that in Michigan, that's worth something. Ryan Kelly, I mean, other than being a January 6th and being an outspoken person, I mean, usually it takes more than that to run for governor. Reed Bant's a preacher. And Tudor Dixon was a TV personality. These are not usually typical credentials for governor. When Rinky came in and said, I'm going to throw $2 million of my own money into the race, that made him a contender. So we'll see, folks. Again, as I say, this is why I don't think anybody should really bust their butts too hard for any of these people, because one person's not going to make all the difference in the governor's race. Make a difference where you can make a difference, folks. Your state house races, your state senate races, your school board races, your county commission races, all these things are going on. And in a lot of them, there's candidates that are much more worthy of your time and support and need it much more than any of these people do. So, all right, folks, there you go. That was the debate. So we're going to have our next show will be on Sunday night as per usual. We're going to have a lot to talk about. We're going to have the incumbent report card out. It should be out Saturday. So look for that. And I think we'll also be showcasing our piece. We're going to talk. We're going to show to some voters in the 3rd Congressional District about Peter Meyer, the traitor to the Constitution. So it'll be a great stream Sunday night. Tune in, 9 p.m. See you all then. We'll have our regular panel, I hope, so we can also talk with them about the debate if they saw it. Jim Weeks says, check out Rinky lawsuits. Okay, well, I'm going to do that right now. We're going to close the show. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for all you do for liberty. Until next time, peace out.